Questions?
I had a follow-up on one of your videos. You talked about AI. You talked about how AI has limitations because it's not conscious or it's not alive. But then it'd be dangerous if it's hooked up to an animal or something like that.
Did I say dangerous, or did I say it could be conscious?
I thought you said it would be dangerous.
I don't know. It could be our only hope. Who knows?
And so I wanted to follow up on that. And from what I see, like with something like TikTok is an AI, right? The algorithm is an AI that feeds you content. Isn't that already a form of like symbiosis with AI with humans?
Interesting question. I don't know TikTok, so I can't speak to that. But conceptually, but symbiosis is different than an intelligent machine. I wasn't making a judgment about dangerousness. I was making a judgment about, in principle, right? Can a machine be conscious? And the answer is no, a machine cannot be conscious. There's much confusion around this point. A lot of tech bros, God bless them, are fantasizing that they're going to create these conscious robots and conscious things. They're already worried about the civil rights of these machines. Well, machine by itself is not going to be conscious. We're nowhere close to that. And also the AGI, there's nothing I see. There's nothing that suggests AGI is around the corner in the sense that AGI would be a conscious machine with agency and creativity. There's nothing there. Do you agree with that? I mean, you know more about it than I do.
The creativity aspect, yes, I agree. The agency part, I don't know.
Where's it going to get agency from? It'd only get agency from a human.
What's your definition of agency?
It gets up by itself and decides one day, you know something? I feel like going for a swim. I'm going to dig a big hole and fill it with water and see what happens. I'm going to jump in and just bask around for a while. That would be agency.
And why couldn't a robot do that?
Oh, it could do that, but it couldn't come up with the impetus to do that by itself. Why would it?
I mean, it could be programmed to.
Well, see that there, when you program it, you've transferred the human into it, right?
Right.
So that's what I mean. The human has agency, and he programs that in. That's actually a very important distinction. He programs that in, and now you have something that looks like it has agency, but it doesn't. It looks like it's conscious, but it isn't. It looks like it could be creative, but it can't. And this is where people are getting all, their hair on fire in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I'm happy to hear, an argument otherwise. That'd be, interesting. And learn something. Follow up?
What if you take a monkey and you strapped it to the AI? Now it can communicate with humans.
Now you have a monkey with a computer, and it's got agency. That's what a human. Isn't that what Neuralink is?
Yeah.
If you just replace the word monkey with primate. But we haven't gone far enough down that road yet, and maybe we won't do that. Maybe we'll put guardrails so we don't have super intelligent monkeys or lemurs, some other animal or some other a glob of protoplasm would probably work. So now we're getting into hybrid creatures. And you can take pieces of protoplasm, right, from the brain, for example,
right,
and hook that up to an AI, and then you have potentially a conscious AI. But now we're getting into some. So the Matrix scenario, in my opinion, I don't know what the Matrix was doing with those people in those vats hooked up to the machine, But it wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be mining humans for energy. It would be mining humans for consciousness. Right? For qualia, for experience, because the machines can't experience. We have something priceless and precious and unique. All the living creatures, all the sentient beings on this planet. Machines won't have that, no matter how good they are at thinking. They can't feel, they can't smell, they can't taste. Now you can simulate that, and there will be we can program to look so much like they're alive. We'll believe they're alive. People already believe they're, some of their assistants, Alexa or whatever, is alive. But humans are very easily fooled. But it's a big mistake. Now, if we create hybrid beings, then we're in another world very quickly. And frankly, it looks like that's where we're headed.
Right.
We may want to think about that. And there's other, we decided we didn't want to clone humans. Right? We decided that certain things were across the line. Maybe we could be thoughtful for once and think about, are we ready for this? The world is convulsing right now because of the phase of the evolutionary arc we're in. And this process is inevitable. It's frightening. It's scary. It's painful. And it's going to continue. And some people will make it worse for themselves and for other people. And some people will help ameliorate it to make it less bad for others and for themselves. And so it's really important here to know what the center is, to keep to the center, to return to the base reality, which is not the mind, it's not the fear, it's not the thoughts, and be able to move back and forth until you can just stay in base all the time. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Follow up?
Yeah. Do you think AI and technology can help assist in returning to center and
sure,
helping people?
Absolutely. This is a tool. This is an instrument, and we can misuse it, or we can use it for good. I couldn't be talking to you right now in this way were it not for tech and AI.
Right.
And pretty soon it will translate into any language and go to any part of the world, and vice versa, right? I noticed there's a Chinese series out, which I won't go into, but it looks really good. The 3-body, crazy sci-fi from China, man. It's amazing, and they make reference to the Cultural Revolution. That's going to be interesting. How do they refer to the Cultural Revolution in 3-body? So all these things are, there's wonderful things about technology, but there's very, very frightening things as well if we don't manage it. But we can't do it with fear, and we can't do it with, our hair on fire, and we can't do it when we're killing each other or lying to each other constantly with the AI, trying to manipulate each other into being something other than what we are.
So one of the criteria that I look at when I work on things to see if it's valuable and useful is is it going to save people time?
Okay.
Or what other kind of metrics or criteria should I look at to evaluate? Because there's a lot of applications and stuff, and sometimes it's hard to see if it's going to be useful or harmful.
How about, do people like it? And do they like it over time?
But people like going to the casino, and it's not necessarily good for them.
Correct. So you need more than one, whatever parameter.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't say anything about being good for people. In America, it's basically how much money can you make, how much attention can you get, and that's related to how much people like the product, right?
Right.
You added the element of it being good, right?
Yeah.
So that's that is a totally different question. So we need clarity too, because when we mix these together, we end up with people designing algorithms to be good, but they don't know what good is, and then they're designing for clicks and good, and then they're designing for clicks and good, and how long will someone stay on the platform, and we end up with a big mess, right? So we need clarity of thought here, right? That's part of the reason we're in the troubles we're in.
Right.
So so you want to re-ask the question?
I guess what I'm trying to ask is how do we steer ourselves when we're working on AI and tech in general to do good, to create good products that are useful and
well, do you want to help people or do you want to manipulate people? That's the first question.
Will help and yeah.
Okay. Help them with what?
Anything. The question is general,
the question may be general, but the answer is always specific if you're going to be real, right? So again, those who know do not generalize. Those who generalize do not know. And so this wisdom that comes from the Tao Te Ching, 2,500 years ago or longer, it's called wisdom for a reason because it's true, right? And we have a tendency to overgeneralize.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to speak in specifics in this case, right? Because you're talking about building a product, no?
Yeah. So building a product, I guess you can a product that saves people time. So it's like a tool, or a product that's entertaining.
Okay, we got to choose one.
Let's start with the product that's entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. So when you're
that's different than saving people's time. Okay, but it's entertaining and it saves people time. But if it's entertaining, why would they want to save time?
So if we think of like image generation products, like the new Google one, or
okay, now we're speaking now of Gemini and image generation, where they substitute black people and Indian people and Asian people. Hey, I didn't see anybody with a sombrero, man. My feelings are kind of hurt, What about, hey, come on, man. That's not right. We need with some Pancho Villa mustaches and some, serapes and stuff. And I didn't see any cacti or any burritos, man. What the hell is going on here? Okay, no, go ahead. I'm joking, obviously.
So you could say, so that one, it can be for entertainment, but it can also be for time saving if you're using it as a tool to create designs and stock photography.
Well, but you're just creating an element of something that's going to be used for something else, right?
Yeah.
So from what I saw, I just saw a bunch of images.
So it's those images are examples. Gemini is like a tool which you can ask it to create images for you.
Okay.
And so people were asking.
And then what is it done with those images? Those images are put into ads, or they're sold, or they're used to get people's attention for some other purpose. Again, why would you want to save time if what you're building is something for entertainment? What's the purpose of that?
That's a good question.
If it's entertaining, when you want to sit back and relax, get some popcorn and enjoy or whatever,
Yeah. So I think in this case, this tool is more for time saving then.
Okay, so you want to save time. Whose time do you want to save?
The user's time.
The user's time or the marketer's time?
The user in this case, it would be the marketer.
Oh, well, see, if you okay, that's different than, okay, so when you got to remember, I'm a layperson, so when you say the user, I think of, your average Joe, like me.
Right.
All right, so you want to save marketers' time. That's to be more efficient, right?
Right.
Okay, so you want to be more efficient. Yeah, absolutely. AI would definitely make people more efficient. Faster, cheaper, better, as they say.
So on one hand, you want to design this AI to create, to understand the user, the marketer or the user's intention the best possible, in the best possible way and serve them the images, right, that best depict their intention.
Their intention? Yeah, absolutely. You want to, okay, if you want a picture of Civil War soldiers, I would presume you'd want a picture of Civil War soldiers.
Mm-hmm. So there's a few different like paths where things could go wrong if you do that, right? You could there could be, you know, a pedophile that gets access to this tool and asks for children naked. There could be people who want to make revenge porn, right?
Okay, so but now the tool is designed to prevent crime or bad things happening, and it's designed to decide what is appropriate and what's not. Legitimate, right? Mm-hmm. But that's a different purpose.
Mm.
I mean, we can always create scenarios, and you can do that endlessly with a human, right?
Right.
It could be gambling, it could be booze, it could be cigarettes, it could be sex, it could be, you know, just keep going on and on and on and on. So again, the question is, who are you trying to help here? Are you trying to help the police?
Mm.
Are you trying to help the government? Are you trying to help the military? Are you trying to help the corporation? Who's in charge? What are we doing here? I guess this clarity is what's needed, right?
I see it.
And when you jumble things together, you lose clarity. This is a tough topic for me because it's really not my purview. And I think most people, I don't know, but keep going, good.
No, but I think that's a good answer, because it does get all jumbled up, right? Because if we take the Gemini example, you know.
Well, Gemini is very easy to laugh at. I mean, that shows you how ridiculous it's gotten and how there's a mass psychosis going on in this country. Yeah. And the fact that could be released as a product shows something seriously wrong, right? And it's self-defeating, and it's inflammatory, and it does nobody any good to be bad at what you do.
Yeah, but
especially if you're trying to manipulate other people, right?
Right.
I mean, what gives you the right to manipulate other people? Usually, it's a superiority complex. You know, we know better than these farmers in the Midwest. You know. Mm-hmm. We know better than the people, you know, selling tacos in the taco truck. We know better than the people that work on you know, landscapes or just ordinary people. Right. And so then we get quickly into something that's very kind of ugly, right? Centralized authority.
Right.
And that's been tried. And communism is one of the results of that. And last century, literally hundreds of millions of people died because of that avoidable mistake. And now it's hiding bad results about communism, right? That's what I've read. Now that would be literally tragic. That'd be like hiding bad things about Nazism so nobody found out that the Nazis were bad. It's ignorant, and it's arrogant, and it's destructive as hell, and it scares people with good reason. So, I mean, you know, I love tech, and I love tech bros or whatever, but man, you guys are really screwing up big time. Big time. And infecting the rest of the world too. Right? So you need to get your act together. You need wisdom. Well, you know, you need insight, right? You need some clarity before you can go off half-cocked like that. You've got tools that are much too powerful to be screwing around with like that. And you're affecting kids' minds. And you don't know what you're doing. I promise you, you don't know what you're doing when you're messing with kids' minds this way. I'll stand by that. Now, the valence of it is not my particularly what I would be concerned with, but the whole idea that you could manipulate nature, that you're above nature, that you know more than your mother nature, that's dangerous.
What do you mean by that? Where? What is
Well,
that?
I mean it as a generality. That's all. We just don't mess with nature unless you really know what you're doing. Because every time we've tried to do that in the past, we usually screw it up so badly, millions of people die or get hurt.
But we've also done it successfully, right? We've like
Give me the examples, please, because I'm having difficulty coming. I know there's examples, but give them to me, please, so I get them.
Building canals.
Okay, good. Yeah, the Romans built some great ones. Still using them. Yep.
Dams.
Yep.
Right.
Roads. Yep. But one could argue that when they built those, they worked with nature. You could argue that, you know.
What would the difference be?
Well, you build a dam where there's a river. You build a road alongside the mountain. You don't go through the mountain. You build a canal. You know, the Romans, when they built their aqueducts, they kind of go along with the landscape. Have you noticed? So, I mean, you could also do these things, and one of your principles is to accord as much as possible with nature, right? To work with it, we have to, right, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So when you isolate yourself from nature, and you just do your mind, and you do all these beautiful drawings and imaginings, and you're just mental without your feet on the grass, you know, your feet on the ground, you can get into some pretty weird ideas and things.
Are you referring to the Gemini still here?
I'm referring to tech in general that's not connected to the real world. Tech that's centered entirely in the mental world, or in the world of ideas. And the same thing applies to not just to tech, but to academia. You know, if you just use ideas,
right,
and you have no regard for reality or for nature, for the way, you're gonna really mess up. And we have gloriously. And people don't even know about the last century. That's the thing that kills me. They don't know what happened in Russia. They don't know what happened in China. And so if you're ignorant and you're trying to rule the world, then you're going to create horrible problems for the world. And that's what's happening. People are trying to control the world and control each other from a place of ignorance. It's bad enough as it is. At least you should inform yourself, right? So I worry. I mean, I worry for people because they get frightened. You know, they get afraid. They're losing their jobs, their culture. You know, they're being manipulated constantly. They're by machines that just want to take their attention, because the next thing they're going to take is their money.
Yeah.
So that's been the story of the world for a long, long time. That's not the issue. The issue is that now we have machines that are much, much, much more powerful at doing this. They can A/B test in a heartbeat. They can probably simulate it almost. And so the power of these machines now is something humanity's never had to deal with. Go ahead.
It's like you go to a casino and you see the old ladies at the slot machines.
Well, okay, that's a good analogy, right?
But it's even more.
But they make sure they can only put in like a quarter or a dollar or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And nobody's going to get. I mean, yeah, or the lottery. That's another example. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying those are good, but imagine that thing on steroids multiplied by 100,000, and now we're talking AIs, level of variable reinforcement. And if you think the social media companies don't know this deep down in their code, they do.
Oh.
So that variable schedule and intensely entertaining, beguiling, almost predatory content, predatory to the human mind.
Not almost predatory, it is predatory.
All right, well, you could say that. I'm trying to be, even here. Some of it's predatory. And so what we're worried about, that guy, maybe he wants to see some porn, right? But meanwhile, what we're doing is equally destructive, but in another way.
Wait, what? I'm not following.
I said we to be generous. Okay. So people get into a moral stance, right? And Jesus said it this way. He said, why are you concerned about the splinter in your brother's eye or that man's eye when you've got a log sticking in yours?
Mm.
Now the question would be, could the tech people have enough insight to see how that applies to them?
Mm.
That their goals, their entire being, what is it for? Well, some people would argue it's for making money, right? And what are they willing to do? They're willing to do anything almost to the human psyche, right? Leave children out of it. And then at the same time, they're going to moralize to other people, common folk, about how they should be different, how they should understand the world differently.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a combination of hypocrisy and ignorance.
Right.
And a predatory underlying motive, right?
Yeah. How far apart is making like a TikTok app versus just straight up making porn? Is that what you're?
Well, in terms of harm done to a individual person or to a culture or to a nation state, if you want to bring down a nation, and we've used tools like this to bring down nations. They weren't as sophisticated 30 years ago, 20 years ago, but this is what we use to take down cultures. And so we're doing it to ourselves, and there is, I don't want to use the word karma, but it came out of my mouth, right? And if you do this to enough people, right, sooner or later the chickens come home to roost, and now the next thing you know, you're using these same instruments on your own population. And where's that going to end?
Right.
And how does that end? So, okay, I'm sorry, I got follow up?
Sort of related.
Okay. I was hoping we could get off the subject. Because it's really distressing for an old man to watch what's happening. But go ahead, let's keep going.
I think it's important to talk about because it's
I agree.
obvious.
I agree.
Everyone feels it, but it's not obvious at all what's happening.
Okay, good. I agree. And
like
people need to guard their
from,
minds. People need to guard their minds. They need to keep their heads. They need to guard their minds. That's vitally important now. And to do that, you got to return to the center, and to understand what that's about, and then other things as well. So keep going. Next question.
Well, before I move on to the next question, I was just going to say, like, I think people know, so many people know that, like, are on TikTok and stuff, and they know it's not good for them. And they say, but then maybe they have to go on it for their jobs or just to keep up. And they feel bad after, but they don't know what to do about it.
They need to guard their minds. It's just like being at the slot machine, or any other form of kind of artificial addiction that's being sold to people. That's basically. I did a YouTube recently on habituation of the brain, and the brain gets used to a certain level of stimulation and a certain level of novelty. And then once this is a normal brain, right? So a normal brain habituates and develops tolerance, right? And it sets its base state such that that's what it's used to, right? That's exactly how you want a brain to behave. Now, when you take away the stimulus, the brain feels bad. It's like coffee, right? I mean, you could drink coffee every morning, not a big deal. Who cares? You're just drinking coffee. But wait till that morning when you don't have your coffee. And then all of a sudden, your whole body's going, what? And the same thing happens with the brain analogously, right? And so people their brains are habituated. They develop a tolerance. They developed a habit because their brain is set at this. It has a new set point. And so then when you withdraw it, it's unpleasant. And we keep up in the ante, right?
Right.
And so go ahead.
What's the fix for that? How do you?
Well, there is a very easy fix for the individual, and that's to give your brain a chance, right? And the easiest way to do that, I'm just talking about the easiest way. The easiest way is to give it a break for periodically, and the longer you can make the break, the better. Give the brain a chance to get back to a normal threshold. There's so another brain, right, that's used to living in the pastures of the woods, right, they've got their brain is set at a whole different level, right? So they're used to the peacefulness and just the birds and the the sounds of nature, the wind and the leaves and all that. So you expose them to what other people are habituated to, and it's like, it's so loud and it's jarring, it's horrible, right? Because their brains are at a different set point. These are all normal brains, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you give your brain a chance to return to normal, it's like eating chilies, right? If you just have on the hot sauce,
yeah,
and you just pour on, and you need more and more hot sauce, right? Pretty soon you don't even want to eat food without a lot of hot sauce on it, right? And you develop a tolerance to that. Now, if you go without hot sauce for 4 or 5 days, then you give, unless you've killed them, you've given your receptors a chance to grow back, and now you can go back to a reasonable amount of hot sauce, or food tastes okay. That's why it says in the Tao Te Ching, flavors dull bright colors dull the senses, intense flavors dull the senses also, right? So that's just a finger pointing to a larger obvious truth, right? That if you have chronic exposure to high levels of stimulation and novelty, then you're going to downregulate your brain, or upregulate it, depending on whom you're speaking to. And the way to deal with that is to take a break for a while. The longer the better, but it could be an hour, it could be 15 minutes, it could be 5 days, it could be 5 years, I really don't know TikTok. That stuff is really hardcore, right? And also, we don't know what's being done beneath the hood. It's not an American company. Not that makes any difference, frankly, that I can tell. But it takes advantage of people, is I guess the way to put it. It's like the gambling casinos. I think that was a good analogy. But it's not just TikTok.
No, I've noticed the same patterns on X and Instagram.
Well, yeah. How else are you going to get attention?
They love to show men fighting videos.
Yeah, exactly. So but remember, they want you to pay attention. Why is it pay attention? Because it costs. Yeah. So the reason they call it paying attention is because it costs. And so every time, so you ask what people could do. There's a lot of things people could do, but this is the second one real quick. And that is that you think about the cost that you're paying each time you pay attention to something, right? You think about the opportunity cost. You think about the energetic cost. You think about the concentration, the ability to concentrate costs. And you just become more conscious, right? Now, once you're conscious, you can do pretty much whatever you like, but you're not going to feel like doing that for very long because, like you said, it doesn't feel good. Yeah. Right? And so if you go to the center, then you realize that as it's happening, you go, wait a minute, I can't do too much of this. It'll make me feel bad. It's just a different time frame, do you see? I mean, you see, so you could say one of the ways you could look at insight is that it's the ability to see the outcome in time further and further out. Okay. And when you're a kid, you can only see till, the next 30 minutes and you want that ice cream cone. When you're a grad student, you can see to the next weekend, right? Mm-hmm. When you're an adult, you can see to the next holiday, right? And when you're an old man, you can see till the cows come home, something like that, So it's just kind of a difference. Follow-ups or another question before we stop?
I can keep it for next time because the question's not clear.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, sir.
All right.
Keep the faith. Keep your head. Guard your mind.